Convido agora a Maria Paula. Bem-vinda, Maria Paula.
Obrigada, que felicidade estar aqui hoje, nesse momento tão interessante que a gente está vivendo, nesse Brasil dividido, nesse Brasil partido, e a gente aqui trazendo uma mensagem tão bonita de união e de amor, de inteligência, de sacação de que o mundo é tão mais incrível quando a gente está pronto para se relacionar através da reconciliação, através da união, através do respeito. Ou seja, vamos ter uma conversa muito boa aqui. E eu estou muito feliz também de estar com a minha musa, que é Málu Balona, né?
Pois é. A nossa segunda convidada é a escritora de livros, parapedagoga e holomemorialista brasileira, natural de Belo Horizonte, voluntária da Conscienciologia há 36 anos, docente há 34 anos, tenepsista há 27 anos, autora dos livros Autocura através da Reconciliação e Síndrome do Estrangeiro. Professora Málu Balona, seja bem-vinda.
Olá, Cláudio, muito bom. Um belo trio aqui, o Luiz Cláudio falando lá de Brasília, o nosso mestre de cerimônias, a nossa amiga Maria Paula lá de Brasília, eu estou aqui em Foz do Iguaçu, e já fazendo parte desse congresso de empreendedorismo coletivo, porque muita gente pensa que empreender é só em relação a uma empresa, alguma coisa, carreira profissional, e empreender é uma atitude evolutiva, que aquela pessoa que chegou aqui com algumas ideias diferentes da média, nós chamamos de intermissivista, aquela que no período entre uma vida e outra aprendeu algo mais para dar mais um passo na evolução, essa pessoa chega aqui como uma empreendedora ou uma empreendedora nata, porque veio para trazer uma nova ordem social. Essa ordem social se dá pelo exemplo. Então, nós estamos falando em nome de uma ciência
order. So we are here talking about a new science, conscientiology, that, according to what I perceive, arrived in a very good time. From 1998, we started to work with this idea. Instructor Valdo Vieira was the founder who led this legacy to all of us. And we are here with the commitment of bringing this legacy ahead. No, so people still, when they hear the word, it sounds awkward. No, conscientiology, intermissive, what is that? Oh, it's a language for a new science. Everybody today we keep talking. I started something, I delete something, because the digital language is a new language as well. And today we have, even in the Portuguese dictionary, there are a series of words that came from there. And I want to highlight that conscientiology and projectology, they are also in the dictionary. So if you look at the dictionary, you will be happy to find the word. So I am presenting this science, and here behind me, there is a flyer that talks about the holomemory. And the holo means the conjunction. We have an area that preserves this conjunction of ideas, because every science with 30, 40 years, it's still a young science. People are still not familiarized. So it's important to reinforce, important to bring this idea so others could arrive, attend the videos, and understand by analyzing the flyers. So this is a happy partnership between IIPC, Projectology and Conscientiology Institute, and myself, working as a technical consultant in this holomemory area. So I consider that I am part of the historical heritage from conscientiology. So what is the meaning of intermissivist? Represent, everybody knows, everybody's aware of, but what's the meaning of intermissivist, either being a man or a woman? It's a person who had studied before being born, study, program and prepare a plan before being born. And then when they are born here, they think, well, perhaps I think it's something strange. They told me that I should do this and that. I am not even smelling that. What's going on? And then the person discovers that we came here for us to make the difference. So we need to make the difference. We need to establish a high level of relationship with the colleagues, with the co-workers, with the different. So this person comes with a very important ethic that is not from this dimension, which is the cosmic ethic that we can use and apply in every planet and in any environment. It's not someone that is very good, is super honest. It's not like that. It's a relationship that is transparent on your energies. So people look to you and they think, I can trust on that person. And why? Because this internal ethic, while others are talking different things. So if the eyes are the window of the soul, so sometimes we have mouth speaking something, intention behind, and eye in a different place. This is totally the contrary what Conscientiology wanna bring. Conscientiology wanna highlight the transparency, the total transparency. So Ana Paula has a different reality. I think she is a pacifist person because she plans, she studies, she generates, she is an important entrepreneur. I don't have this style. I am a self-didactic person. I did not do any scientific studies after my 2 years of psychology in faculty. But I'm saying that this integral dedication to the science just brought me only benefits. So when you are happy, you want to spread your happiness. And absolutely, we don't want to doctrinate anybody. We don't want to convince anybody. We want to set examples. We want to become the examples about what we are talking about. So I'm very happy to be here sharing with you with so many countries. I want to say thank you for this translation team. This translation team has no pay. It's an important task that sometimes people who are translating, they have no idea how important the words are. So we have friends in Brazil, in French, in Romania, that are following our work here. So I see that first the idea of the IIPC, which is an entrepreneur, and then I see this team of translation team that is being able to carry on these words. I think it's a strong example of openness and universalism as well. So I am very grateful to IIPC. So today, you guys perceived that we are going to talk about this is fundamental on the science of conscientiology. So that's why we want to highlight the disbelief principle that it says. It consists on don't believe in anything, not even what you see or hear here. Consider as a hypothesis and bring this to your own research. So the key word is experiment. Everything is possible, everything we can place on practice. And I would like to ask here a question for Maria Paula. How you got in touch with Conscientiology? Yes, I came from Kardecystic family from Minas Gerais, from the interior of Minas Gerais. Since my grandmother, this multidimensionality paradigm is part of my life. we always had a notion that the consequences of every act and all the choices that we do, they go beyond our little neighborhood, that we really deal with so many dimensions. I already have been born with this innate idea that everything we do, we have a consequence. And I remember a period in my life through this perception. I study in a nun school. I had this familiar background that came from the Spiritism, from the Kardecism. I also studied Buddhism, the Tibetan Buddhism. And then I have a wide variety of things that I was interested in, this mystery that is the non-physical, that is beyond the material dimension. And then in one phase of my life, I was crossing a very hard phase. And then suddenly someone gave me a book, a friend Veka, that I also invited her. So Veka gave me a book, and then she told me, this woman, Málu Balona, she's wonderful, read this book. And then from that reading, I was very, very interested. And then I picked an airplane, I came straight forward to Foz do Iguaçu, talked with Valdo, participated in many laboratories, many activities, and then I started to study more and understand more this advanced eye about the multidimensionality paradigm. That is not only with the dogmatic things. No, the first thing you mention is throwing away the dogmas. No, so do not believe, experience. See what you see, what you feel, what you can perceive, and where are you going to be able to be. And therefore, I started to get in touch more and more with this bias that is from the pacifism. And then I went to Saquarema, Rio de Janeiro. I participate of a peace laboratory, and I was deeply touched. And I was already walking into this pacifistic work. And that's how I arrived into Conscientiology, by Málu Balona's hands, very well guided. And now in this moment that we are living, we need so much reconciliation. And I'm going to be even reading this book because it will help me with talking with my colleagues, my artistic colleagues, my family. I am also graduated in psychology, so I am a person that studies the human psyche. And in this moment, having the notion of that all the dimensions are interferencing one in another, we can see that we really need to work with the psyche, the human psychic, because after all those difficulties and the challenges that people are being crossing is huge. So this whole sphere of the planet, people are traumatized with the pandemic. They are very touched due to the moment that they are experiencing, due to the politics as well. Many young people, we have a war happening. So there are so many challenges happening here. So the more we could help for us to help here and to create a more serene atmosphere, the better we will be to help others. No, and I work as with communication. So for me to bring this ability to talk about these subjects is a privilege, When you guys invited me to be here today, I was so happy. I published in the social media. I sent to all my groups, and then I sent and I told them it's an opportunity I am having to talk about so many important points, because I have a question, also a list of questions that I want to do to Instructor Málu. I take the chance to give the word to Málu. Málu, you have been following the evolution of conscientiology even before the science had a conscientiology name. Could you talk about yourself so people will be able to know more about yourself? It's a fact, Luiz Cláudio, because the book I did the best I could. I went to Brazil, all over, but the book, it goes beyond that. I arrived in conscientiology in French. I was living there. I lived there for 5 years, and then there I got in touch with a lady called Chantal Jamet Rayon Pauline in Nice, where I was living in the south of France, in the Côte d'Azur. And that lady, that was a sensitive, a parapsychic lady, she became a great friend. We worked there. We just worked together. It was nothing so big. I went to her house, but you know, those physical effects that you can read out of the books from the 19th century, those rounding tables. I was there just in the 20th century. No, yeah, I don't know why people, they get so impressed with physical effects. They are important. They are impressed in some level, but I could perceive that voices could be strong. The violin, the guitars, they could pop out from one wall and go into another. But all those physical phenomena, they would not change much. My question, my personal questions were connected to the essence. And then I started to understand that something that belonged to myself, that was inner. So I'm not, it does not belong to Kardec, to spiritism. I am just one soul. And then I came to Brazil with the material that Chantal gave me. And then one of those, and then she also gave me some things to give to Instructor Vieira. And then I went and got in touch with Instructor Vieira, because for me to look for, to understand more what happens with me. And I think also Luis Antonio Gasparetto and Vera Regina were there. And then later on, I realized that they were friends of Instructor Vieira. In the first edition of Projectology, he congratulates that lady. And then I asked her where I can have more information about conscientiology. No? Gasparetto it was a physical parapsychic, and he used to paint famous extra-physical consciousness. And then the lady Regina told me that no, you are the one who is going to talk about parapsychism. And then the spirits, they are telling me that you are going to talk, you are going to do that. And then I was quite scared, because Chantal was sitting next to me, showing me pictures from physical effects. And then she was telling me that, Málu, I would like you to go there, because after this physical effects gathering, I get very tired. And all those extra physical consciousness that were there together in this with me. Many people, many extra physical consciousness, they came from art, singers, and so much. So then I brought a few material from that moment long ago. And then I brought this material, and then I was looking for. And then once I opened the magazine Planeta, which is a Brazilian magazine. And then I saw Instructor Vieira, 1986, October 26. I was in a parapsychology congress in Rio de Janeiro, in the Brazilian College of Surgery. And Instructor Vieira was launching Projectiology, his first free edition that he paid to publish that. He launched it in 1986 in January 31st. And then on October 26th, I got in touch with him in his presentation, and he did an energetic work. And then I perceived that, and then I thought, what is that? And then I asked people where he used to do this. And then I asked around, and people told me, oh, you have to go to his house because go before, because there are many people that are interested. So those were already the tertulias that later on I understood. So when I started, I never went out. And in that moment, I used to do Tai Chi Chuan in Brazil, and then I would be popping out right straight forward from Tai Chi Chuan into Instructor Vieira tertulias. Lisa back then was his wife. I was arriving earlier, and then we got a small room for him to give his lectures in Rio de Janeiro, in the Leblon neighborhood. It was in a table with only 3 legs, and Instructor Vieira will be talking in there, and then he created the Continuous Center of Consciousness. That was still something very paternal, because it was only himself. This institution was created in September of 1981, when he launched the book, Projection of the Consciousness. So then I arrived in this moment, and then I followed him. I helped with everything I could. I stayed in French, and then I came back for the IIP, and then I never went away. I was part from the beginning. I started my classes in 1989. I was already going around teaching, doing travels and teaching. I was there together with a colleague. Today, there are 2 students from that group that is here with us. One is in Foz do Iguaçu, and I think another is in São José dos Campos. It's a volunteer. They are even ex-students from that time. And then you see, the institution grew up a lot. I was, during a long time, ahead of the communication area. I would be following the media, the flyers, press release and everything. And then I was indicated to move to Buenos Aires. Today, there are 2 colleagues from there, Liliana and Monica, that are still in the IIPC. Then the international expansion from IIPC and then in 96, the Conscientiology entered together with the IIP. And then in 94, this instructor Vieira launched a book called 700 Experience of Conscientiology. And so the 700 tests, this book, it's about 700 tests, but the people who were tested, they were ourselves, and then at the end of the afternoon, he would be calling us and telling us, oh, those tests in the book, they were about yourselves. So I had the privilege to be following in Brazil, all the expansion. We opened a variety of centers in North, Northeast, South, with a few instructors. And then in 95, we started to graduate instructors inside a program that I called Agile Trainee of Consciousness. That was a new program. So people had no lucidity enough in order to understand that. A few innate ideas were there. But Instructor Vieira would tell me, go there and give that class. So then, and then a specific instructor was not able to give class, but just go there and give a class. So if you don't go and give a class, I will have to go out and give the class. When he told me that I will be going and he will be popping out of his own research, and then in that case, I thought, no, then I will be going, I will be teaching. And then we were able to help. It's a long journey. That's why I decided myself to the holomemory. That is in the other side, I'm sorry. The holomemory, because it's the way I have to donate all this material that we have been accumulating from things that today a volunteer had no idea, and people had no idea that we can be representing. We are talking about intermissivist representation. So how can we talk about the intermissivist representation if we don't know the history? So when you go to talk about a psychology, a psychotherapy, a psychoanalysis, you are going to study your grandmother, your grandfather. So you study ages before. So with conscientiology is the same. We do need to study much more. We study before. So I am not the model. Of course, we need to see how we experience those ideas. It's a scientific principle. It's not easy for you to apply with an ethic that goes beyond that. It's not easy. Sometimes people, they get in conflict, they don't understand. Sometimes your family will think that you are inside a sectum, and you, on the contrary, we have been completely far away from there. Conscientiology is the self-experimentation science. You place yourself on practice. You are not going to give this to a third person. It's not a religion. A religion, you can give responsibility to God or somebody else. It's an anti-belief. It's the science that is applied to the personal evolution. You do your part the way you can. And we are here doing this, and we had never stopped. So with 2 books, especially one of the books, The Foreign Syndrome, is dedicated to people that had arrived and are feeling a bit awkward in this planet. Young people, they come here in this planet, and then he will be struggling. He will not be understood through his family. And I call that foreign syndrome. And I want to take the opportunity to say that there are more than 100 authors studying foreign syndrome. And I want to say that I developed that word, I create that word inside a classroom, because I remember that a person was very shocked with those ideas, because this person used to feel herself like a fish out of the water. The condition that considering yourself an ET, an extraterrestrial. So this condition, it's a very critical condition. I then create, I create that expression. And today, there are live webinars about syndrome foreigner. So you can read this book for free, for a free download. You don't need to buy that book. It's totally free for download. I think it's interesting for you to see a self-biography about myself. A short version of a biography for people who would have an idea. I hope it was clear. I have a question, Málu.
No começo você continuava nos palcos, você continuava cantando e ao mesmo tempo fazendo, você rompeu com o antigo e
you broke up with the old and entered in the new chapter. I didn't break with anything. In 1986, I came from France after 1 year, and I want to stop music to study conscientiology. I'm going to study psychology. And that was my decision. So, May 26, 1986, May 26, I met Professor Val. So I was talking to my friends of back singers. I was a singer that recorded on the back vocals, and Ivan Lins worked with Tom Jobim. Only Vinicius and Tom Jobim. So I made a decision, and I was actually joking with a friend that I'm gonna stop singing after I sing at the municipal theater. I knew it was gonna be hard to get there. And the ballet Bolshoi came to Brazil, and the choral singer was always busy with the training for the opera. So I was called to sing in the municipal theater during the ballet Bolshoi season. So the most interesting, I stopped singing, but I still I was under a contract in October of 86. I left everything as far as music, and my sister was a stylist, and she said she was gonna do an exposition in Uberaba, Minas Gerais, and I decided to go and help her. And we stay in a hotel with the same person that used to work with the parapsychic Chico Xavier, and he said was Mother's Day in May, and there was a lot of buses there, so I'm not gonna go talk to him. So she went there at the door, and somebody pulled me inside, and we sat on the bench, and they brought Chico Xavier, and I hold his hand, and he asked, "What do you want?" And I said, "No, I don't want anything." So how am I gonna ask anything? But later I said, I have a friend in France that is sick, and Chico said he was going to help. So I had to meet with Chico Xavier before I met Professor Valdo. I met him on his house, and I had to actually pass by him in May in Uberaba, in Minas Gerais, May 26. Was printed on the newspaper. So I left there in May 26, and October 26, 6 months after that event, I met Professor Valdo Vieira. So I was a singer because in the music I had not even sound in my house. When I went to France, I had to go sing in a group called Minas Gerais with all the French singers. So I left, and I was preparing like a curriculum, and then I realized how many people I met and on the behind the stage, and things that still playing until nowadays. And there was a period of time in marketing that people invite me to sing in commercials, jingles, or do the commercials speech. So it was well paid, and there was the time that I worked with this. So I had no shock in transition to conscientiology, and I left all the artistic life, the artistic ego behind, and assumed finally the conscientiologist, the teacher position in October 26th. And I finished all the contracts that we were in a trio of singers. So the first soap operas in the 90s, we were singing the opening music for the soap operas. Professor Valdo said she's still working singer. So since we are talking about holomemory, and we met Professor Málu history, so now I'm gonna ask the video to know a little bit more about Maria Paula work. So ask the team to play the video about Maria Paula's work. I started working at 18 as a VJ with MTV. Then I went to the TV Global, spent many years doing homework at Cacete Planeta. But the Maria Paula that you will meet now, it's a woman who is dedicated to a very important mission. I am an ambassador of peace. This transformation happened when my first daughter was born. Maria Luisa arrived with a lot of news. At the time, the Ministry of Health put me on national broadcast advocating 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding. The campaign said, don't give your baby water or just breast milk. But the Ministry of Labor does not guarantee 6 months of maternity leave. The country was emphatically proposing that women exclusively breastfeed for 6 months, but only giving them 4 months of maternity leave. This aberration was identified by the godmother of one of the breastfeeding weeks organized annually in the country, Maria Paula. She called attention to such a mismatch and requested this to be changed. The day the law was passed increasing maternity leave for 4 to 6 months nationwide, I understood that my life had changed, that I could really contribute to improving the lives of so many people in this country. A few years later, when my second son, Philippe, was born, I was participating in another revolution. few crews had developed a technology to pasteurize human milk and invited me to be the sponsor of the campaign. Felipe got a baby sister, Juju. The campaign, we managed to achieve a goal of reducing infant mortality that was scheduled to happen many years later. Imagine my joy in realizing that our campaigns were reducing infant mortality, increasing maternity leave, bringing hope to this country. But I realized that hope also needs to be reached, the invisible populations. That's why we created a program to install breastfeeding rooms inside the women's prison in Brazil. In the lectures, I showed the women that the effective bond between mother and child can happen regardless of where the person is. The transformation of my trajectory made me an activist, a mixture of artist and activist. And then I received the title of Ambassador of Peace from the governor of Brasilia, Rodrigo Rolenberg, and his wife, Marcia Rolenberg. I started fulfill diplomatic duties. I received Princess Mary of Denmark. When she came to Brazil, I went with her to the Fernandes Figueira Institute to show her how was the treatment of children with rare diseases in that place. I was accompanied by Queen Sylvia and King Gustav and of Sweden, but I am a communicator, and in addition to diplomatic functions, I started to create a work of symbolic construction of the culture of peace, showing that people need to spontaneously migrate from the culture of fear to the culture of peace, which welcomes, regenerates, and heals. Our motto is to take the focus off the individual and put the focus on the collective. We need to create smarter ways to break the cycle of violence. My work as a peace ambassador became to attract amazing people willing to offer their time, their energy, their intelligence to create the Embassy of Peace inside our headquarters, which is located in the Jardim Botânico of Brasilia. We carry out all kinds of activities with the intention of welcoming victims of violence and creating new mentality. The president of Embassy of Peace, Helena Rosen, went with me to the UN in 2019. The following year, we signed an agreement with the STJ and in Brazil and made justice and peace go hand in hand. That's how Miguel and Rosane Rosalena arrived, who is now the Vice President of Peace Embassy. In 2002, the effort of this entire team culminates in 48 Hours of Peace, an international event that takes place on the Terra Mater in Brazil. At the time, the country celebrates 200 years of independence. The next chapter of this exciting story will be built by you. So now we start talking about representative intermissivist, which is the theme of this life, the empreendedorismo, evolutism. So now we're going to start talking to the teachers. We got a lot of teachers, but before I want to ask to play the introduction of this Congress. Now you can see on YouTube, and please show us the next video. And soon we're going to open for the questions and answers from the teachers.
Você se lembra do compromisso assumido no curso intermissivo?
Do you remember the commitment you made in the intermissive course? Have you ever thought that your existential program can impact not only you and your group, but the planet? The undertakings to overcome evolutionary challenges will require intersubstantial adaptation and innovation on the changing planet. Intermissivist, what is your evolutionary enterprise but the transformation the planet needs? You are welcome. This event is for you. Be part of it. Know more about evolutionary enterprise.iipc.org.
Luiz Cláudio, antes de começar as perguntas, eu posso fazer um comentário sobre aquele
Luiz Cláudio, before we can start the questions, can I comment something about the video, about my story, my work? I remember that I was talking about the invisible populations. I started doing a lot of events inside the prisons when I talk about to create the breastfeeding rooms inside the women's prison. I would like to tell how the idea came out, because there was inside the laboratory at CIEC of energetics and analytics. So I would like to share with you guys. When I arrived in Iguaçu Falls, everything was very new. It was the first time I was visiting the place. And so I came inside the laboratory. It looks like a igloo. And somebody locked me inside there, and I was by myself and started wondering, what is the teacher, what I'm doing here by myself, cold environment. So I grabbed a blanket, and right at the beginning, I was feeling like very sleepy. It was only 3 p.m. But then when I woke up, I understood that the work that was happening was in a different dimension. I was not by myself. There was extra physical helper team on the other dimension. And there was a preparation to understand what was going on. I was very involved in the campaign of maternity leave for breastfeeding. I was pushing for all the entrepreneur people to come aboard with the campaign. So right there, I figured out that what I need to do is create a breastfeeding room inside the human's prison. So the extra physical helpers can actually start creating the more optimal atmosphere and protect that area. So it's very important for the connection of mother and baby for the development of emotional and ethical behavior of the future baby. So that day, inside the laboratory in CIEC for energetics in electric, it came the idea to create a breastfeeding room inside the human's prison. So after some time, it took extra time to come, but Professor Valda gave me a list of different things to do, orient me to finish the master degree and then doctorate. And she said, Valdo, I'm not even gonna have time to sleep. No, you got a lot to do, a lot to accomplish. And she thought about doing everything. And then I had an intuition that I had to look into the one person that worked at Dilma's government that worked for women's subjects, women issues, and I scheduled a meeting with her. So I was very well welcome into that meeting to go talk to this person at the government. So inside her ops, I was talking to her about to create this campaign for maternity leave, for breastfeeding, and there was a lot of women inside the prison system that needs to breastfeed. So when I proposed the idea, she she starts crying, and she asked, "Did you read my book?" And she told me that I was under arrest during the in the past, and she was pregnant. So after a couple of phone calls, pretty soon I was sitting on a table with a lot of important people in the government. So I spent the whole year visiting the prison places, and and communicating the idea of the campaign to create those breastfeeding rooms for the. And after I started telling this whole movement to Professor Balda, he told me that during this important moment of reurbanization, it has all connected with the work I was doing. And the whole idea came from my experience at the laboratory in CIAC, the intuition to start the whole plan. So the whole project was flowing. And it's very impressive the way it happened. Sometimes we realize that we are a mini piece in working in this max mechanism with a lot of different help coming from different places, but I landed on the right ops to talk to the right person to make everything happen. It's so impressive. So as we say, the mini piece, like Maria Paula was talking, so we talk, they are the intermissivists. We would like to expand who is the intermissivist, and to complement what she was saying. Let's watch the video. Málu, can you hear us? I think Málu went offline. Málu is trying to come back online. We're just waiting. Can I say what I'm thinking? Especially in being as in the TV, being an actress, coming from like a huge ego type environment, and artists they feel so important, and people talk to us like we are super important. They want an autograph, they want to take picture with us. So we come from this is an illusion, thinking the artist is superior to other people. So in a lot of moments, we realize that we are a mini piece in the maxi mechanism that's it's rolling. Málu, I was speaking while you're not here, just sharing like how for a person that comes from the media, a very privileged position, that a lot of charisma, and the artist, the actress usually is idolized by the population. It's a very dangerous position because you fall into illusion, in this bubble, thinking that we are like super special. But that's how my trajectory in conscientiology, my contact with Professor Paula and Málu, all the research, it helped me come back down to reality, understand my role in so important, is very important as a mini piece into the max mechanism. But it's a very rich experience. I think Málu went offline. She's trying to come back. So the intermissivist, the professor will expand that, but is the person that who was studying to understand more evolution and to prepare before coming back to interphysical. And we come from this premises that we research in conscientiology that brings to us a huge responsibility that this person will come back with knowledge of very advanced subjects that at the same time it can also generate in that consciousness a misunderstanding of those capacities. So the person is very exposed in the media, and you gotta be careful in the life of actors, for example. Another important thing when we talk about intermissivist, it's a person who prepared before coming back to interphysical life. When we come back here, if we are too focused in our ego, we're gonna repeat too much our conditioning and old ideas in previous lives. And when we finally have a training before coming to this life, I'll talk about that in a minute. But when we have this preparation, I think it helps us to understand better, to get away from our ego and have a more broader vision of what is really the mission, what is the priority that needs to be made, that usually has nothing to do with fame, ego, money, power. This is all part of the ego universe, but to realize our mission that we plan during the intermissive course, we need to come here and remember what is focus in what we need to do, study our talents and amplify our lucidity, and to focus like be intruder free and achieve the intrusion free condition. Those are like hard to achieve goals. We are here in a huge challenge. So Málu is back. Let's help her. Let her talk. I'm sorry, I missed everything you guys were talking because I got disconnected. Yeah, but you're back. We were talking about intermissivism. I was talking about the first time I heard about intermissivist was the first time I met Professor Valdo. He told me, I knew we were going to come here. And she said, how come? Not even me knew we were coming here. But Busunda woke me up at night and told me that you were coming here. And you can tell Busunda's wife, he's already going through an intermissive course soon after he went back to astrophysical. So I called his wife and told him, oh, Málu, we're talking about what is to be an intermissivist, and get one of the questions that we already have here. So what is this intermissivist activity? So now the internet is back. Let's talk about what is means to be an intermissivist. So a person that had many lives. So it's already tired of all this craziness, repetition. You grow up, you get married, you have kids, you have grandkids, and then you die. So we're gonna talk about we are sick and tired of this situation. It must have something more important to do. There is religion, but religion it's not for me anymore. It's just dogma and belief. It's not science. So that person already understand that she knows something. There is something else, something bigger. Yeah, it's not just what we have here, and that's created conflict. So after comparing A to B, there is a conflict. If there is only A, you don't have conflict. There is a lot of people like robots, just happy to relive the same things over and over again. And she doesn't even realize she's a robot. So who is completely tired of all the situation they
a ser chamadas extrafisicamente depois da morte
they
biológica
start being called in the extraphysical after they died to listen about new realities, new ideas. So because she was ready to start listening. So these people, they were invited to an intermissive course, environment of classes and training before reborn, but the call from astrophysical dimension was a astrophysical community called Pandeiro. It looks like a circle building. Nickname of Pandeiro. There was a astrophysical community.
Então chamou de pandeiro. Ali foi feita uma chamada para que as pessoas que tinham essa predisposição já tinham ressonado.
So it was make a calling for everyone that it was already in the intraphysical life and the ones that are still to born to come and join the activity. And it happened from around. So I moved to Rio in 1968, to Rio. And then during this period and this memory to pass to the people, it happened between the decades of 1960s and 1980s. That's when happened this activity. So who is already in this intraphysical life just go out of the body and join the groups. So some people just sleep above the body and doesn't have this vision. But you have the opportunity to having out-of-body experience, a lucid dream, that it's not a dream, that's a succession of events. So the projection, different from the dreams, you have a sequence. Oh, I talked with that person passed away some time ago, and so on. And then you realize that not a dream. So, and then there were a lot of people that were removed of the body to go to this place, to this experience. So I'm going to talk now about the intermissivist principles. So some of them are part of our intimate thinking. That, for example, that kid that take care of the animals or doesn't hurt anyone. That's a kid that has a predisposition. Because there are some kids that take the pet and simply squeeze it and kill it. So this, when it's talked about, that's a different line. Okay, when you have this, it's related to the cosmoethics. So you're talking about principles of life. That's the values may change from one community to the other, linked to the country or ethnic, but the principles does not change. This are inside ourselves. So the intermissivists, they have it as a guideline. And then it comes here and found something called consciential paradigm. So that has considers holosomatics. So first time that I heard about this expression, it was my first question. What is it? Because I had a weird feeling that I was not feeling the physical things. And then this is this coincidence of your vehicles of manifestation. And then doesn't need to tell me anything else. It was something logic. So you receive an information that for other person may not make sense, but for you, completely makes. So this is innate ideas that are bring to the consciential paradigm on this dimension, and they can use it on this dimension. So you deal with bioenergies and you deal with them. So that's a bioenergetics. You also had other lives before this one. You know things that do not belong to this life. And then other thing, it exists other dimensions. So there is the extra physical dimension. We have this dense matter that you can see with your eyes, but with another vehicle, you can see things that are not physical. There is some level of energy, but so this is also part of the consciential paradigm. Bioenergetics, multidimensional, holosomatics. So this is small detail. For this was necessary to create an institution to study it, these concepts. So, and then we need to create a code for the ethical code for this. That's like no warm origin, no parties, political parties. If the reality is made from several different views. So we have the anti-dogmatism, that's the principle of disbelief. You simply goes there and experiment it. If you don't feel something, forget about that. There is no rituals, anything like that. And universalism. So the cosmoethics could be inside any place, any race, any ethnicity. Consciousness can be infiltrated in a particular environment, but it brings with these intermissivist principles. And then it starts to become more clear about who is the intermissivist. When you see belicism, partidarism, exclusion, exception of people, and then wants to convince everyone. So not even the statute of the institution that they are volunteer agrees with that. So that's kind of weird. So the 4 variables of the paradigm, it's very clear. You need to answer for what we are doing it here. We may have other lives. We can change the chair. Like we can be like another like a mother in Sicily and with 8 kids. And then another thing that's very serious, the extra physical reurbanization. Just like a house can be reurbanized, the railbacks is like looking for people that has this profile of universalism, pacifism, and so on, to work to help with more in better improve the places. And what about how you deal with other people that are not linked to these ideas? There will be a need to send these people to other planets that are more proper for their evolutionary level. So for the ones that are not yet capable to have a good relationship, good conviviality, okay, it may be better to bring to another planet. So it's better to gather the people that has a similar ideas in one place and the others that has a different ones to another place. But when we go out to the extra physical, to another dimension, you go to the place that you have some kind of affinity. So you may go out and do not see a relative for example, 1,000 years because it's in another breaks of the evolution. And the intermission, what is it? Where I'm going to end when I get out of this world? How can I accelerate this evolution process? It's good if I could have an upgrade. And how can I have it? Doing assistance. So we people that does not have information, we welcome them, provide the information, and it's their choice. So that is not something like deny information to anyone. But the helpers that are more mature conscious, yeah. So if you recognize that you have a lot to improve, okay, that's a sign of health, because the less sick helps the more sick. So we are conscious that wants to voluntarily evolve. Some of them do not want to evolve, so we cannot force them. So what can you do? Externalize energies for the best. So we have the personal energy task that anonymous will donate energies at the same time for the ones that are still in insanity times. Okay, but if you can help a little bit, you are doing a lot, because most of people are not yet on the level of helping. So you sometimes the person, okay, may think that like the dirty, the mess, it's part of the life, and it's not necessary on it, and then it's important to help them to understand about the place that they need to be, or to help on the environment around. So we keep helping the people, especially the ones that may have an awakening and getting and becoming a better evolution. So I want to make some comments, because you said a couple of things that are known by other names. So the sympathetic assimilation, that's not sympathetic. And then you introject and filter, and you give it back in a better way. People know this as ponopono. So the concept is similar. There are several things that conscientiology use, a lot of terms that are millenaries techniques from other cultures that were understood in other ways. So when I invited my friends, they asked, I did not even understood the title. So sometimes it's good for us to translate for the people. So if you don't place it on the scientific scenario, okay, we would be lost, because then we start to have the mysticism. So we that study we that study conscientiology, for some people we are like atheists, okay? For the religious, we are mystics, okay? So the, the, the religious people think that you are atheists, and the scientific people think that you are religious. So you're not lacking of giving credit for anything that's extra-physical. So there is other scale that we may investigate, explore. So some of the language that we had in the past, it was like more childhood language, but it was necessary for that moment or for that cultures. But so there are no beautiful picture here. So sometimes we need to say what's happening. We are going to see it with our para eyes or extra-physical eyes. So, talked about the desperto, the permanent intrusion. So, some of these confusing times that we are living, we feel a lot of need to be aligned, balanced, and doing the techniques, vibrational state. All the time, I feel the need to do it. So what I'm perceiving is that with the general holotocene, and it's very bellic, very aggressive, 1 minute of like a guard down, and then the energetic vibration goes down, and the companies that come and brings very delicate situations, sometimes even dangers. So I'm inviting the people that are watching us that this moment, that it's a delicate moment, that we need to be aligned, balanced, and every time that you go out of balance, okay, understand what's happening and then go back. So if you get unbalanced, there is like fights, arguments, and all these kind of things. So in my life, I perceive it too. So it's good to talk about this public utility live here. So our topics could be like really a public utility. That's basic health. So we are starting to do the sweeping on it. It doesn't look like anything, but you need to look and be willing to put the things in practice. Because even when you look to the social medias, they are, all of them, it's very toxic. Every person with something, and behind everyone has some kind of second agenda. That's not something that's clean. So the intermissivist can say what they want, because there is an energetic support, like the helpers. So the helpers are kind of the extra physical teachers. So we have, so like, for example, you, Maria Paula, that have a lot of communicability. So you may preserve that person with communicability and give tips about how can we do it better. And the intermissivist has a lot of freedom to do it. So, and then you can share deeper experiences. So I shared like in different places, in companies, and one of that opportunities, the human resources come out and said, so are you talking about people that already died? Yeah, exactly. I see dead people. So this condition, it's good, because I'm going to talk about it during the Entrepreneurship Congress. So that's all the programs that I did when you went to companies. So that's the parasocial programs of intersistence. So parasocials here and intersistential without borders when you went abroad. So we do it under invitations. And they come and say, I'm going to talk about consensual paradigm. I'm not going to talk about hake, neurolinguistics, or anything else. I'm going to talk about conscientiology. Is that it? Okay, I'm coming under invitation. Is that it, what you want? So with politeness, okay, education, and we present it. So the intermissivist consent, they are everywhere. So they are sometimes as cosmetically infiltrated. So every environment where you are may have an intermissivist, a man, a woman, and then this intermissivist is just waiting for a code, a password, and then come and say, oh, this, I know this. So then you talk about intermissive course, and then the person's, oops, clarification task, oh, just a moment, and then, well, it brings to me somebody some other way. So what's this different is that the person that is like they feel in like intimidate with that or in danger, okay, they try to retaliate. But you know, bioenergetics, it's the way that you work, it's super practicing. Nobody it's not an auditorium motivation speech, okay? No, let's do this, let's do that. No. 5 minutes later, the person is ecstatic. 5 minutes later, the person is down. No, we are not like auditoriums animators, okay? We clarify the people about the science conscientiology and explain the techniques. So the intermissivist representativeness is this. No matter who you are, you are intermissivist. You receive informations, leading edge information, and then you need to live according to the information that you receive it. And that's my experience from more than 30-something years of conscientiology. I arrived at conscientiology at 40 years old. I had an entire life before. And then I made a combo with conscientiology. One previous life and now the next life. So I'm close to 40 years of conscientiology and 80 years old. So the time is short now and there are several questions. So some of the basic questions, I would invite the people that watching to check some other informations that you have. So one thing here that she just mentioned about the intersistential without borders. And then we are going to have another conference. That's with Maria Paula. And then let's answer some of the questions. What are the biggest difficulties that you have to promote the pacification project that you have. So the difficulties are huge. So in this moment, it's very complicated, children. And the people are very aggressive today. I can hear so much crazy things that I don't even answer. When the person is not understanding what I'm saying, and then the majority of the people are not understanding what I'm trying to say, they are requiring that I place to one side or to the other. No, I'm neutral here. I'm a partidary. And then they become aggressive. And this message of pacifism was never so important as today. But at the same moment, the people seems that are not prepared for it. So I think that I'm ET. So even if you talk about that, we are going to get on that in 200 years, we need to start talking about it right now. So I have a lot of invitations to talk about symposiums, congress. So I just came from Portugal in an international event that we have like the European Union president and so on. So, and then invited me to talk about pacifism. So from one side, there is a space, and people are thirsty for this information, for this discussion, for this conversation, and the way of relationship. That is the demand, the requirement. But when I go and start to talk, several people do not understand what I'm saying, and they start to be very combative. And the social media too, I received some comments that are extremely aggressive. So on one hand, it's the time to talk about that, we need it. And then we are in the world in war, a country that's broken apart. So, but on the other hand, the people still do not prepare for this message. But that's why we are here. My husband always says something that I found wonderful. You need to prepare yourself to deal with the lack of preparedness of the other. So sometimes I'm an open heart to talk about things that are so obvious. That's it. We need to welcome the other. And then the moment that other is more aggressive, this moment that you need to welcome instead of demonizing the others or to exclude just because the other is saying something that's different. But you need to welcome, to help for the person to get a better view of the planet, of the moment. And then I keep talking. So I talk about combat the crime and not combat the criminals. Okay, and then people say that I'm defending the criminals and so on. Hey, that's not it. It's challenging, but we need to prepare ourselves to deal with the lack of preparedness of the other. So we need some opportunities to have this qualified conversations like we are having right now, and how we entrepreneur on this planetary moment to promote the de-intrusion, the general de-intrusion, our own self-de-intrusion, and the intrusion of the environment where we have circulating, and bring it to the material, to our daily life, how we are using your energies and talents, Where are you investing? What kind of entrepreneurship that you are doing? So sometimes people are extremely intelligent, but they are not investing in the right place, in the places that are just lowering the level of understanding instead of increasing. So we need a lot of lucidity, practice the techniques all the time that help a lot. We are human beings. And then people come with a lot of aggressivity and they say, oh, no, it's not possible. And then, yeah, that's the time that we need to breathe, circulate the energies, calm down, and then get back to a serene environment, Pacific. So I continue with my mission that bring this message that no doubt is what I come to do it. And I'm doing the best that I can. So sometimes I get anxious that everything changes right away. But even if it takes some time, what we are doing, it's important. Even if people are not yet understanding the message, sometime the token you drop, okay? So you are bringing the startups of the good. Oh, be the way that it is, we are coming. We are going to do it. It's part of the service. There are a lot of neo-intermissivists with new ideas, with big things, big ideas. And this early lucidity that we have in some childs and abilities showing up. So we have promising possibilities. And here, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Congress. So you have like a starter for it and understanding it. If you haven't registered to the Congress, you can go and check on the empreendedorismoevolutivo.iipc.org. Okay, that's where you can register for the Congress. We have here the more details about the Congress, for who is dedicated, the full schedule, okay? Who are the guest speakers? We have this talk show here, the social entrepreneurship, with the Mara Mourão. And then the conferences from the conference for our guests that we have today. So one on the 11th, and then another one on November 14th. Yeah. And here we talk a little bit more, and then just asking you what you're going to talk on these two events. Maria Paula, you go first. So, I'm going to talk about my trajectory on the search for pacification, intimate pacification, and also from the environment, and how everybody wins when you create environments, pacified environments. When you get into an environment that you feel safe, that where you can relax, your creativity goes fast, and then your entrepreneurship happens, and the opportunities show up. So when we prepare the environment to pacify them, we facilitate all the other resolutions of conflicts, situations, challenges. Everything happens easier. So that's why it's so important to dedicate ourselves. That's a matter of choice, to choose the peace all the time. So every time that you balance and then you go out of it, you remember that you can go back to your balance. Then I'm also going to share my life from how many times I went out of balance, because it's important to remember that we are human beings. So all the time we make mistakes, and then we got a load intrusion. So it's important to use the techniques to keep our frequency high and prevent the situations, because there will be a moment that you're going to go a little bit in a low astral vibe, and then you're not going to be well. But yeah, that's okay. We're human beings, and then those are some lessons that you learn from them. But you need to be aware, pay attention, and do not pretend. Yeah, you cannot pretend, like put an avatar on the social media of a nice life, and then this is a waste of time. Okay, then you go for a journey of ego, power, or whatever. So be where you are. Pay attention. Make the right choices. I'm going to talk about choice to increase the level of the game, lucidity to make choices, and as we be more pacific, more you influence the environment where you are. So when you are not aware, the environment acts over you, and then that's when confusions happen. So that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk. And I'm also going to talk about with Málu for her to give me some ideas, because she always helps me. She always gives me good ideas. I count on you, Málu. Thank you. So we can have a wonderful conference. So this question of make good usage of the opportunities that's important. Whether you are in harmony and well-being and evolution and intimate pacification, you went in several opportunities. So you need to strengthen yourself. And then this thing, like everything can be repaired. The religions say that everything is like forever or not. So that we got to a saturation point here. This kind of thing, it's gone. So we need to work for what? We not yet, but we look to work to become a permanent de-intrusion consciousness. So we're kind of like being semi. We have a level of de-intrusion, but we still fall back from time to time. And then you go to that moment in that we have an antagonic pressure that you cannot stand at that moment, but you need to learn from it, and you start to doing the assimilation and de-assimilation of antagonic energies. So that's the state quality that we have the consciousness, but we already have a level of the intrusion level that will go towards to be more positive. We don't need to pretend to be this or that. So you just assume your needs. What are my needs? I need to work this or that. So this is the period of the semi-dispersicity that we are still going through. And I'm going to show exactly that it's possible to use the conscientiological terms and experience in any environment. So people say, oh, we need to use less neologisms of this or that. Okay, so that's the experience doesn't show that. We are intermissivists that are just, and we want to create this environment. So,
Já é uma grande coisa. Mas veja bem.
So we are like doing the penta instead of fighting on the traffic.
E mostrar que contrair pessoas altamente assediadas. Isso a gente já faz. Isso já faz parte do serviço. O nosso mercado é o único mercado que está em crescimento exponencial.
Yeah, our market is the market that is still expanding, okay? Because we need to work with the people that are the intrusion all the time, okay? It's like Conscientiology is, or intermissivist is. There is no middle term, okay? It is or it is not. So we need to play with concepts and ideas that are not this way. Okay. So let's go. The language is essential, and then we need to work on that, and working on it, on the teaching front, clarification front, and that's what we do. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So let the need happen, and then we bring the conscientiology to where it's needed. We need to wait for the needs, for the requests.
Always has been invitation, opportunity to talk about the consciential paradigm, and like Maria Paula always talk about the neologism and explain the terms, but a lot of people try to adapt and use old words, designations. We need to delete that idea and use the new works, the clean one, the new energy. That's why people will stay, because we are using sincerity. So that's how we create our presence force. It's being the attraction of what can you come to be, but it's not yet. So the teacher is a attractor, and we need to keep integrity in conscientiology and how we represent as an intermissivist on the red carpet. We would like to say thank you very much for Professor Málu and Maria Paula. That was an excellent live. We have everything recorded, and so people can also access later our explanations. And thank you so much. And final words, please, now. Thank you so much, everyone, and I wish a lot of success for IIPC in this front of work, and remembering that we're going to be working together, and all the heavy weight of the social and parasocial work. And thank you so much, Maria Paula, my friend, is here helping in this context. Thank you, Málu. I would like to say thank you for this opportunity to be here today, and I will share on my final thoughts this necessity we have to bring these subjects, these ideas, to all the different spheres we are. So every time you feel that the level is falling down, and let's talk about lucidity, how important is the intrusion, and provide assistance for those who is in need to assistance. And more time we are focused on that work, bigger will be the extraphysical helper coming to hold our backs and help us to talk about those issues. So talking about this today, it's a great opportunity to be in the exercise of intermissivist representation. And thank you for this afternoon to be all together here. And I'm pretty sure that we will prevail. So there is a lot of new people, as Málu was talking about. There's a lot of new people reborn right now, very well prepared to expand these ideas and to get the work done. And we are ready, and there is more people coming. They are also ready, that we will prevail to bring this new vision of love, pacifism to everyone. And it's light, and it's happy, and full of love. I think love is the best word to describe. And I'm very happy and honored to be here today in this live. Thank you, everyone. Thank everyone watching. Thank you so much for everyone. Málu, you're awesome, and the whole team that supported it. Thank you very much to the whole team, the technical support for the event. And we're gonna have the final thoughts. Ana?
Eu mesmo vou passar ele aqui para a gente já encerrar, né? Lembrando que quem estiver
So I'm gonna go ahead and show to you guys in this end, remembering that everyone participating of the event will be participating on the laboratory. So if you are interested, also be the change that the planet is in need. Let's watch the final video now.